Scott, Ascendant Studios is a brand new studio working with EA to produce Immortals of Aveum. As they claimed, this is going to be an action RPG in the AAA genre. Bold words for a new studio, but dude, it worked. Yo, this
I think they've actually come through this time.
we hear this a lot, right, from a lot of studios. Hey, we're a brand new studio. We're gonna make the AAA experience that you all been asking for. Blah 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 blah. Well, blah 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 blah. Dude, I think that worked. Like they nailed. I was so impressed out the gate. Setup. It is a magical first-person shooter, which then grant you like, okay, we played first-person shooters in the past. How did they introduce the magic side to it? And the way you change with your gauntlets and you switch out between basically what it feels like is a shotgun, a bit of a sniper rifle in a sense, and then your SMG or assault rifle, depending on how you go about and craft your gauntlets and upgrade them and so forth. Dude, Jack as a character I thought is fantastic. I think the voice acting is incredible. I think the game looks great. I do experience some texture pop-ins from time to time, but the overall story starts off so hot, so strong. You sit there, you might be lucky to sit around for 10 minutes in the middle of the intro, and then you're right into the action. And the pace just hasn't slowed down at all from start to finish. Dude, I was hooked. And I was so overjoyed in a sense that I wasn't let down. I think that's what we get, all this hype, all this promise, and we've seen this game advertised and advertised and advertised. I'm like, man, are you guys actually going to be able to pull it off? You know what? Hats off. Ascendant Studios nailed Immortals of Aveum. I've been having a great time. Dude, this game was fantastic to play, and I was so hyped and so glad to get through this thing. It was so cool. What are your... Well, dude, I gushed a little bit there. What are you thinking about this one?
Well, my first thought looking at it, and of course all the marketing, this looks like big money.
Yeah.
So I was a little worried. Maybe it's all just flashy graphics, and I didn't experience any pop-in. We've talked a little bit about that. But
Yep.
what you get is a lot more than just what money can throw at the game. This seems to really be a combination of a lot of good little aspects. And number one is the motivation. You're set up right at the beginning, like you mentioned. You get to see a little bit of your kind of under the bridge kind of seedy lifestyle.
So cool.
Yeah, there's a class warfare thing happening, and
Yep.
that kind of sets you up into your motivation. You have a friend, and things kind of go awry, and you're set on your adventure to be the RGB mage, and it does not stop. It just kind of gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Story-wise, I was kind of waiting to be introduced to the big bad, the bad guy that you will, I'm sure, face down at the end. But it took a little while to get there, but the action was not vacant in that time. You were still having a great time jumping around in these different worlds. And you commented to me, holy, this underbridge looks fantastic.
So cool.
And I had that feeling going through some of the magic trials. You warp away to another world, and there's ginormous things in the distance. There's little trials you have to jump through to kind of tutorial your way through, and I thought that was really good. It didn't feel like a tutorial. It didn't really feel like it was slowed down, and that was a big standout to me. But I think my favorite aspect has to be the RPG elements to it.
Yeah.
A shooter with RPG, we've seen that before, we've heard all that, but this actually has enough variance between your left hand, the different devices, the totems you have rather, and your right hand with the different magic abilities, the red, green, and blue. And there's enough variance where my weapons are a little different than yours, and probably different than the next guy's. And that's really fun, because I like shooters, I know what I'm about, and I set up my play really well, and it comes in really important when it comes to the boss fights, the big battles that you'll see. And you're using a little slow grenade, an interrupt kind of laser. There's a lot of things you have to balance and keep track of the timing. The shield, for example. I went all RPG into the shield. I can heal off it. I can blast everybody away. There's a ton of fun things to do. And it's hard to kind of describe it as a whole because there's just so much going on here from a brand new IP.
I think that's just the most exciting part about it, is a brand new IP. Has me excited. What will Ascendant Studios do next? They've nailed the first one. What do we get next? Do we get a brand new IP, or do we get a sequel? And where does that lead us to, right? I'm not going to spoil the story any further than that, but there are opportunities here that they can take this. Dude, I'm so excited. I had so much fun playing the game. Like you say, you're able to craft and kind of build out your version of Jack, and then I have my own version of Jack and what my weapons look like, and going out and crafting those, and then getting into the skill tree and checking off certain boxes that'll fit my play style. And then the worlds. You touched on the worlds, dude, like the zip line through the worlds and just other abilities and how all this magic, the battle of magic and how the fight is going on ties in so well to the world, and then the world is showcased is so beautiful. It's out in front of you, and then you just, like you say, you see off in the distance. Man, there's so many times I just kind of stopped and looked for a photo mode, and there wasn't one. I was like, man, yeah. Crushed me a little bit. Right? They crushed me a little bit there, Scott. I could have. The photo opportunities within this game are endless, and I did talk about a little bit about texture popping, which was only, it was weird, dude, because it only happened after chapter 6. Because everything before that seemed okay, and once I hit chapter 6 and went to the end, it was kind of, I'm like, oh, now it's starting to hit, like, maybe just a little fine end polish. There is a day 1 patch that's coming, so maybe that will be fixed when it is released to everybody else. But it was one of those opportunities, when we dove in, man, I was hooked from start to finish. And what a great start to a new studio.
I think some of that pop in, if I have a theory, I think it might be because the map opens up as you get different abilities. You can kind of revisit certain areas, or just kind of jump to another area through the ley lines, or your whip, you can pull yourself around. But maybe after chapter 6 that becomes available, so it's loading bigger. That's all technical at that point, but I never had any sort of slowdown, no stutter, no issues like that. It was quite polished.
Cool.
No, I'm just trying to calm your nerves, man.
Scott, all in all, dude, Immortals of Aveum is a standout title that people should definitely look forward to checking out this year. I'm hitting it with an 8.5. There's a lot going on here for the first time. Dude, I was really impressed. This is a solid game. A couple little texture pop-ins here or there, though, kind of took me out a little bit. Hopefully that kind of gets cleaned up, and then charge on to see what's next. You can hardly wait to see what's next.
I agree with you there. I think I'm there with an 8.5 as well, because this is a very just incredible surprise. I wasn't expecting to be pulled in quite like I was, and I've really enjoyed every moment of it so far. There's the missing multiplayer, which is something I thought of briefly, but it really doesn't need multiplayer, and certainly not PvP. That would just be a mistake, in my opinion. But I really like where this game is set up for, and I really want this IP to continue.
Blood in protest.
Hardcore.
Hush.
Passage to the sands of Oromon was secured.